Hello, everybody. Welcome to Money, Markets, and Motivation with Mike. So we are going to take a look at our word of the day to start out. Share our screen. Here's our word of the day, encumber. Encumber is our word of the day. Encumber is to restrict or burden someone in such a way that the free action or movement is difficult, saddle with a debt or a mortgage, or fill or block up a place. So that is where we are there. Here is where the market currently stands. Microsoft was up a little over 4%, and it's pulled back a little bit. Meta is up 11.47%. Amazon's up. Otherwise, it's kind of ugly day out there in the markets. So that is a story there. We're going to switch over to crypto. Bitcoin keeps bouncing it's just under 117 now, between 117 and 118. So that is our story with that one. Moving on to the charts. We'll just update this a tad here. Bitcoin is now down to 116, close to 116,900 as it kind of trades around. And we'll take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum is right around 3750, so it seems to be holding itself a little better than Bitcoin right now. So we'll just have to see if Bitcoin is working in a consolidation and will later go up in the next month or so. So that is where we are at the moment. Now we're going to move over to our charts. Before we go there, we'll advertorial before with all-time highs. You may want to think about if you're getting close to retirement, moving over into one of these accounts. It goes up when the market goes up, does not go down when the market goes down. And then when the market goes up again, it goes up again and goes up like a little staircase, beats index investing by about 5%, 12.58% to 7.57. If you'd like to learn more, please contact me. So that is where we are now. We're going to move over to our chart analysis. Newegg Commerce just continues exploding higher. It seems like the new meme stock. It's up 40% today, up 18.33. It's up 164% on volume. You can see these big blue towers. It is far extended. It's pretty risky to move into that. So let us go over to our NASDAQ. NASDAQ is pulling back to the 10-day moving average, tried to move higher and it's pulling back. The equal weight in the NASDAQ just dives today, down 1.57%. Slice right through its 20-day moving average. S&P 500, very similar to the NASDAQ, went up and had a big sell-off here, pulling back to the 10-day. RSP, equal weight in the S&P 500 looks pretty similar to the equal weight in the NASDAQ. down 0.88%. And let us check out the small caps. They continue moving down 0.92%. And the Dow Jones is down 0.6%. Look at some of the subsectors. Financials pulling back to the 20-day. KBWB, see if there's much of a difference. Pretty close to the same there, down about 1%. Let's take a look at the VIX. The VIX is shooting up today. It's up 9.5%. I'm not sure if there's a gap right up here that it'll be drawn to. 100% of gaps fill on the VIX. And what does that mean? That means the S&P 500 generally goes down. Got a little bit of a bounce back after a sell-off in the 10-year Treasury. Didn't really help the markets much. And we got a little sell-off in the 20-year. It's at 3.6% interest. So we'll get back to our subcharts. Energy pulling back 0.44%. Communications did pop with Meta bouncing. Got a huge gap up there, up nearly $80 today. Utilities up slightly. Real estate, wow, real estate really got slammed down 1.6% today. Biotech pulling back. IGV, software pulling back to the 10-day. Technology pulling back to the 10-day as well. Infrastructure pulling back to the 20-day. Semiconductor slices through the 10-day, headed toward the 20. Airlines continue, look like they're trying to hold steady where they were yesterday. Industrials actually get a little bit of a bounce. Healthcare, really strong sell-off on healthcare. XLP in consumer staples continues a big sell-off there. Building materials continues sell-off, falls below its 200-day moving average now. Mining and metals trying to hold steady at the 20-day. And uranium pulls back to the 20-day. So that's where we are there. I'm just going to pull up where the big money is moving today. Number one is Meta. Look at that huge bar. I guess people were guessing that they were going to miss on their earnings, the big sell-off the day before, and they were wrong. Big gap up, 11.5%. Carvana up 15% on their earnings. Earnings were up 814%. That's a big move, a 9% earnings surprise. Look at that. All Neelam pharmaceuticals up 14.8%. Huge volume 2 days in a row. Earnings came in a negative 43%, yet that was 159% earnings surprise. App loving. App loving is up 7.46%. Their earnings are in 6 days. Got a little bit of a gap up here and near its highs there. It's up right around $27 for the day. SPGI Global. Got 50 items. We're only going to look at the 10. S&P Global up 4.27%. Earnings are up 10%. We got Microsoft. They gapped all the way up here near their profit zone and started to sell off. They still got a pretty nice gap here, up a little over 4%. Modine Manufacturing up 17%. Look at all these blue bars in Modine. Just incredible. But their earnings are up just 2%, but it was an earnings surprise of 14, almost 15%. And here we got a Newegg, new meme stock. It's really taking off here. Generac Holdings. Is up about 8% today. The earnings came out, they were up 22%, a 21% earnings surprise. So that is kind of what we got here. On to consumer news, we looked at Carvana. We got Ford Motor. I think I lost. Let me see, bring this back up here again. China's official PMI surveys for July both underwhelmed the market expectations and show that activity slowed broadly at the start of the year. So we were trying to get to Ford Motor. Ford Motor jumps up 1.5%. Earnings are down 21%. Still was about a 12% earnings surprise. MGM. They sell off 3.8%. Rush Street Interactive. The earnings were 12 cents versus 6 cents estimate, and they're up about pretty close to 25% on the day. Earnings were up 175%, and look at this huge blue tower. That is a lot of money moving into Rush Street. And then we move over to Sprout Farmers Market. EPS is up $1.35 versus estimate of $1.24. You would think that would be up, but that did not happen. And it is down 3.67%. On to energy industrial. and materials. American Waterworks. I keep hitting the keys in the wrong spot and messing up my news. So shame on me. American Waterworks Q2 EPS $1.48 versus $1.51. You'd think it'd be down big time, but it's actually up 0.58%. Albemarle Q2 EPS 11 cents versus 82-cent loss. You would think that would be up, but it is off 1.15%, bounces off the 50-day moving average. We got a lot of red here before the earnings came in, so somebody must have known something. FMC Corporation, EPS 69 cents versus 62, and they're selling off of over 5.66%. Now we're going to go to the hood in financials. Q2 EPS 42 cents versus 35 cents. And it's pulling back here a little bit off 2.8%. Applied Digital Q4 EPS 3-cent loss versus 15-cent estimated. And they are up 28.5% on that. That news. Earnings came in at plus 79%. And we got a huge blue bar here. So we got a lot of money moving into that one. That has been on the list of most actively traded stocks here for a few months. On to Equinix. Q2 AFFO a share was $9.91 versus $9.30, and it is pulling back a little bit. Extra Space Storage, $2.05 versus $2.06, and yes, you would estimate that would dive, and it's falling 9%. Fair Isaacs, Q3 EPS 8.57 versus 7.70, but that must have been cooked in the people's books, and it is falling 6.81%. Ventas, 87 cents versus 85. It's up slightly, 0.84. We move on to healthcare. Just going to adjust our screen a little bit. Align really tumbled quite a bit, down 37% on revenue of 1.01 billion versus 1.06 billion. Biogen, $5.47, topped the 386 estimate. Tried to move higher, but then selling came into the stock. Cigna, Q2 adjusted EPS 7.20 versus 7.15. Initially selling off and trying to bounce back here. Still down about 11% for the day. CVS, EPS $1.81 versus $1.46. They tried to move higher, and then big selling came into the issue. Dexcom, Q2 EPS 48 cents versus 44 cents. And they dive on that news, down 9.25%. Guardant Health, EPS loss of 44 cents versus a loss of 51 cents. Tried to move higher and then dive, getting close to their 200-day moving average. And on to Hologic. Q3 EPS $1.08 versus $1.05. And they're rising 3.11%. We looked at Meta in technology, media, and telecom. We looked at Microsoft. We have ARM Holdings. I'm going to pause for just a second here. So ARM Holdings drops. Their estimate was 35 cents and they came in at 35 cents. Disappointing on a beat. It's down 13.5%. Cognex, 25 cents versus 24. I would assume that they dropped on that number as well. But they do not. They go up 20% on that, on earnings increase of 9%. Cognizant Technology, EPS 131 versus 126. You'd think that would go up, but it drops 2.56%. eBay, quarter two adjusted EPS $1.37 versus $1.30, and they're up about 18% today. Figma, they announced a IPO priced at $33. And look at that thing go, up 253% on the day. Offers browser-based platform for developers and product managers and marketeers. That is a holy cow if I've ever seen one. F5 Networks, EPS $4.16 versus $3.50. They move up 4.81%. They were up much higher earlier, but they pulling back a little bit on that gap up. Earnings are up 24%. Form factor, 27 cents, misses a 30-cent estimate, and they drop 17.4%. Impinj, their shares are up, EPS 80 cents versus 71 cents. They're up 26% on the day. Lam Research, $1.33 versus $1.21. You would kind of think that should go up, but it's down 4.5%. PTC Incorporated, $1.64 versus $1.21, and they jump into the profit zone, up about 6%. Qualcomm, quarter three EPS, $2.77 versus $2.71, and they dive. A lot of these technology stocks are expecting a lot bigger earnings beat than they come out with. That's why they dive. Tetra Tech, quarter three EPS 43 cents versus 38 cents. Initially rose and then off 1% for the day. And finally, Western Digital, quarter four EPS $1.66 versus $1.48. They rise about 10%. And pretty interesting that they have a power trend going on here. When did the power trend start? Started right about here when the 50-day crossed the 200-day. The 20 is above the 50 and the 10 is above the 20. So this is a power trend. So if you put on the gas right about this day, you would have a pretty nice move in your pocket. So that is all we're going to share with the chart reading today. Now we're going to go over our quote of the day. This comes from Jack D. Schwager, investor and author. He wrote books on a number of these leaders and investors. If you do not stay with your winners, you wouldn't be able to pay for your losers. So interesting, that is our quote of the day. Go out there and make a difference. If you can help somebody in need, please do so. This has been Money, Markets, and Motivation with Mike.